Have you ever wondered what was actually going on in this country when it comes to Joe Biden and Donald Trump? Let me ask you a question. Do you think the media tells the truth? Whether you're left or right or center. Now remember your answer. As we go through this data, I've ranked each channel in terms of Joe Biden's channel and Donald Trump's channel on YouTube based on 4 different factors to see who's actually winning. You're smart. You're an intelligent human being. You can see the data and decide for yourself. But first, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, 2 things. It's good to frickin' see you, and number 2, why aren't you already subscribed, bro? Okay, let's get into the data. On the left-hand side of the screen here, we have Real Clear Politics, and I want to point out one thing. So we have Trump here leading 4 points. This was done back in February. So they have all of these polls astonishingly showing Biden leading. Kind of interesting, right? The Real Clear Politics takes all the national polls and they put them together in a nice clean format here so people can take a look at them. You'd like to think that you'd get a more accurate representation of the world. However, let's look at some things first before we get into those 4 factors that we looked at to understand reality first. So what we have here is this is the most recent one. So about 7 polls here from the YouGov, which is The Economist, CNBC, Rasmussen, et cetera, et cetera. I've pulled up one from Quinnipiac we're going to dive into in a moment. But first, one of the things related to polling and surveys is that they're just wrought full of biases and full of different errors in terms of how everything is done. Let's start with the sample size. So what is the population here in the United States? Roughly about 330 million people. So let's come down here. This right here tells us the sample size. So this is from the YouGov, which is The Economist, or CNBC. Both of them have around 1,250 people they asked. That means that they sampled 1,250 people out of a population size of 330 million people. You're like, Sam, 330 million people aren't going to vote. Cool. 150 million. We'll just cut that in half. How about that? Does that work for you? 150 million people, and they have a sample size of 1,200. And then the media reports as this being representative of the population. You're an intelligent human being. You can decide for yourself, right? But let's just assume that you can take that and accurately predict what's going to happen, right? Because we saw how that worked in 2016, right? And the models of what I'm doing on this channel here, I tested on the 2016 election. And they accurately predicted the results, unlike the polls. So let's move on to the next thing here. This is the data from Quinnipiac. And I'm going to read you this section here. So this says, the Quinnipiac University poll, directed by Douglas blah, 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 conducts gold standard. Oh, wow. Now we're getting, this is good stuff. Surveys using random digital dialing with live interviews calling landlines and cell phones. Cool, right? So what type of person is going to pick up the phone and answer a bunch of questions during their day or evening when they have other things to do? Do you think that maybe that creates some biases? Well, if not, let's think about it for a second, right? Well, who's going to call somebody and then pick up their phone on a random number? If you try calling me, even if you're in my family, there's a very high probability I'm not picking up the phone. Or a friend. I barely even respond to text messages. Well, Sam, you're one person. I agree, right? However, there's a lot of other people who are not going to pick up the phone for a random number calling them. Somebody who's sitting around, not doing anything, who's probably bored, maybe doesn't have a job or anything better to do with their time, than talk to somebody on the phone to give them information, right? Or people who are actually going out and using this, taking responsibility for their life. Maybe those people are actually doing something productive. I don't know. Maybe not, right? Let's move on to the next piece. Why the YouTube polls are way more accurate than these other polls here with sample sizes of 1,000 people. Well, where do people who are, let's say, 55 and younger spend a lot of their time? The internet. What is the number 2 site on the planet in terms of popularity? YouTube. So a tremendous amount of people in the United States spend time on YouTube. This, my friends, is a breakdown of the population size in millions. So we've got the greatest generation. This is data according to the 2017. About 2 million, 24 million for the silent generation, 1928 to 45. Baby boomers, 72 million. Generation X, 65 million. Millennials, 72. 90 for Generation Z. So we have Millennials, Generation X, and Generation Z who are all below 55. So where do they turn to get their fucking information? Well, they turn to the internet. And then specifically on the internet, where do they go? YouTube. YouTube is the second most popular website in the fucking planet and in the United States. Number 1 is Google. So if you're trying to figure out what is going on, would you rather have a sample size of 900 people, 1,500 people, 1,200 people, or millions of data points when you're trying to accurately predict what the collective of 330 million people are thinking? Again, you're an intelligent human being. Use your fucking head. So what we did is took 4 separate factors. The total number of subscribers gained for each one of their channels, the total number of views on their channel over the last 30 days, the total number of search volume on YouTube, because not only is YouTube the second largest site in the planet, it's also the second largest search engine on the planet. And given some of Google's tools, we can actually see the total number of search volume. Excuse me. And then lastly, what about other people who are talking about these candidates? That's also an indicator, right? It's going to add more validity to our results. Because if we have a bunch of influencers talking about somebody, and if we look at, say, the top 10 videos that people publish about you, and the top 10 videos that people publish about me, and the top 10 videos about you have 26 million views, and the top 10 about me have 100 million, who do you think is getting more attention? So, with that being said, let's dive into the data. For the first 2 data points, the total number of subscribers over the last 30 days and the total number of views, we use Social Blade, which aggregates social data across platforms. So we come over here, we pull up Joe Biden's, and we grab the total number of subscribers over the last 30 days and the total number of views over the last 30 days. So let's take a look at those. We're on the right-hand side now. We have total number of subscribers for Joe Biden at 14,500. And the total number of subscribers for Donald Trump's channel at 57,000. So we have about a 4x difference there. So for every 1 subscriber that Joe Biden gets, Donald Trump is getting 4. Interesting, right? That tells a different story than what this tells. Remember, going all the way back to February, according to these supposed national polls, Trump's only led once. Very interesting. Let's take a look at the next one. Total number of views over the last 30 days. Joe Biden, 4.5 million almost. Sweet, right? Well, when we take a look at the total number of views on their channel, this is giving us an indication of who's viewing them. Now, you might think, well, I watch YouTube videos on Donald Trump and I don't like him, or I watch videos on Joe Biden and I don't like him. My first question to you is, why? Do you not have anything better to do? I'm curious. I'm not judging you. I could care less what you do with your life. Why don't you do something productive? I have no idea. But there's a lot of people who waste time consuming other people's content that they don't like. I don't get it. Maybe you can let me know down below in the comments. Doesn't make sense to me. Joe Biden comes in at 4.4 million views over the last 30 days. Donald Trump, almost 7.6. Not quite 2 to 1. Let's call it 1.9 to 1. So for every 1 view Joe Biden gets, Donald Trump gets almost 2. Interesting. Again, these polls don't say that. That's very odd, right? And this is probably 50 different polls from, let's call it 15 to 20 different companies that all show this, right? Does that show you that there may be a bias in this? Because we're calling people who are just sitting at fucking home, not doing anything, who have nothing better to do with their time than to pick up the phone and talk to somebody? Like, I have better things I can do. How if I can go shave my fucking ass? Like, I'm not going to pick up the phone for somebody who's calling me. If it's important, they can leave a message. Or there's 1,000 other ways to try to contact me online. If you guys want to contact me, jump over to Twitter. Say what's good. Link in the description. So, another interesting thing here is that this is 7 million data points. And this is 4 million data points. Right? That's interesting. Right? Around 12 million total views. But these have around 1,000 in sample size. I think this is laughable. Do you remember that question at the beginning? Keep that in mind. So, let's move on to the next one. This is the total number of searches. So, when you look at Google Trends is a product that Google puts out. They own YouTube. And it tracks all of the search volume on Google and on YouTube, the 2 largest sites in the planet, as we covered earlier. So if you put in Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and you look over the last 30 days, you get to see who has the largest percentage of that total. And this is the data right here. You can see that just according to this graph, Donald Trump is way ahead, right? Like, that's fucking obvious. But when you come over here, it's interesting because, again, for every 2 searches for Donald Trump, there's 1 search for Joe Biden. It's interesting, too, because this is in the United States over the last 30 days on YouTube. But wait, what do we have over here? That's interesting. All the polls say something else. But this is actual data. Millions upon millions and millions and millions of searches. So why is reality different than what the media is reporting? I don't know. You can let me know down below in the comments. Let's move on to the next one. So this is influencers is what I can't call it. And this is, as we mentioned, the last 10 videos on YouTube for each candidate. So what we did is search Joe Biden this month. So that means this videos that have been published over this month. And we looked at them by view count. And we just added up the total number of views. Their name had to be in the title and or their likeness in terms of the thumbnail. So a picture of them in the thumbnail over here, or their name had to be in the title in order for it to count. If it pops up on here and there's no, it doesn't say Donald Trump in the title and it doesn't have Donald Trump in the thumbnail, I'm not counting it. So when we take a look at this, we see Donald Trump has 28.5 million views. Joe Biden, 12 million views. So again, that holds up. It's kind of interesting, right? Now this is a very cloudy number because it's on a global basis. Anyone around the world could watch these. But still, it shows you what's going on. Because if what the media was reporting was accurate, then surely these numbers wouldn't all be in favor in one direction. and not nearly by the gigantic margins that we're seeing here. So what is going on? Go back to the beginning. Is the media telling you the truth? Or do they have agenda? Because we know the North Star for the media is not honesty, is not accuracy, is not objectivity. They have an agenda. So, with that being said, I need your help to spread this message. If you actually care about the truth, share this video with somebody. Share this message with somebody if you don't want to share the video. It's about time we stop being complacent and let the media run this country. It is about time that we start stepping up and doing something about it. This is the first time in history where the internet is going to be the deciding factor. The internet has the ability to disseminate a massive amount of points of view for free. And even though it's 2020, people still hold on to the belief, for whatever reason, that the media, to some degree, represents the truth. I don't get it either. I don't understand. With every bit of information that comes out, it is manipulated for an agenda. It is taken and twisted one way or another. And I need your help to spread that message. Don't forget to subscribe. We have our Facebook rankings coming up on Monday, where we go through similar data on Facebook, because this is just one site. But what about on Facebook? Not as popular as YouTube, but what about on Facebook, right? There's billions of people on there, and pretty much a large portion of the United States, 330 million people, are on Facebook. So is Facebook going to have the same indicators? I think is Facebook, the data on Facebook? We know the company is very liberal, but are the people on Facebook the same as the company? Or will the data on Facebook look more like these polls to show Biden leading? Make sure to press that subscribe button and that bell notification so YouTube will notify you when that video comes out. Appreciate you guys. Peace. Peace.